All right. Welcome to the Right Call podcast, everyone. Simmer in the house as usual. How you doing today, kind sir?
I'm doing fucking fantastic.
Fantastic. Good. He's on a Monday high. You know, do you do zins, by the way? Do you do
What is that?
You know, it's said in Swedish it's called snus. It's not chewing tobacco. It is the new cool thing. It's like little tobacco powder. Not tobacco, sorry, nicotine powder that like athletes put on their lips. Everyone's doing it. Hockey players, baseball players, the Blue Jay players, everyone's doing that. Never heard of it?
Not at all.
No, never?
No.
You're not a nicotine user?
No, not at all.
That's good. It keeps you fucking sharp, apparently. I wouldn't know. But it's illegal in Canada. You got to go buy on the reserve.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Speaking of the Jays, hey, Canada is for World Series and everything.
Yeah. I had a friend who went to the most recent game.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. I just came back from Toronto. The feeling over there is it's wild. Everyone's repping the Jays. In between, you walk the streets whenever you're trying to avoid piles of shit, literally. But then you see the Blue Jays everywhere, which is cool. Toronto's still a shitty city.
Yeah.
But
It's a bit of a consolation prize though, because the Leafs get dumpstered every year, and so Torontonians have at least the Jays to fall back to.
At least they got that. But you know what's fucked up? I was reading how on the Jays, on the team, there's only one Canadian. Everyone else is American. Because right now I feel like the World Series is turned into like an element of pride because it's like Canada versus the U.S. But it's like, guys, the management is American. The coaching is American. The team, the players are American. They get paid in USD in an American league. It is like,
Paid for by American sponsors.
Exactly, right? That's exactly it.
Viewed by American people.
That's the MLB for you. Real quick, shout out to our Patreon. Hey, we had a growth of 400% on Patreon this week.
That's awesome.
So we don't only have Céline, but we now have Pierre, Sylvie, and Timothy. So we are at 4 Patreon guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your support. We put a lot of effort into this. So
Yes,
at
we
$8 a month, we are now officially at $32 a month. So we're just about capable of buying an appetizer at a restaurant every month.
I'll take it, man.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take an appetizer. And speaking of appetizers, have you seen these food inflation statistics coming out?
Ooh, so yeah, it's going to be something we're going to hop in. I'll just do a little summary real quick of what we talk about, and then we'll hop right into the food inflation, okay? So this week on the episode, we are going to talk a little bit about 10 years of Liberals. So it's been 10 years of the Liberal government, and I wanted to contrast it to what it looked like under 10 years of Harper government. We're going to talk about the food bank usage that has been going up, which is a tragedy, and it's a horrible sign of the daily life in Canada. Elections, maybe. There could be elections on the horizon, so something to look into. Then we have Dougie. What would it be to have a family named Ford if it's not for a scandal or two? So Doug Ford decided to weasel his way into trade negotiations, and perhaps even what we could call foreign propaganda. So there's something to talk about how he ran an ad in the U.S. trying to bash Donald Trump, basically, and the tariffs, and how that backfired. And a little research segment here about how AI hates white people. Sounds controversial, but it's true. You're going to listen to the findings and think this is insane. And I know on your end, we're going to talk a lot about metrics, taxes, right?
Oof. Well, a lot has happened in Canada, and so we're going to do a little deep dive on all the different things, like you said. And specifically, I prepared a segment for our viewers and listeners where we will really go in depth on taxes, the numbers, and let me tell you something. It's not pretty. And it's perfect that it's in the Halloween segment because these numbers are scary.
That's what we should call it. The Halloween numbers.
Yeah.
What are you going to dress up as for Halloween?
The tax man.
The CRA agent. What's worse, CRA or Revenue Quebec?
They're both bad.
They're both.
Do you hear what happened about the CRA, actually?
You tell us.
Oh, my God. So the CRA This is a recent thing that just came out. A new report from the Attorney General has found that the Canada Revenue Agency gave incorrect tax information to callers 83% of the time. With taxpayers waiting an average of 31 minutes on hold, it's got to be longer than 31 minutes.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
To receive their incorrect information.
So you're telling me that, because I've had to call them before. I've called Revenue Quebec. In Quebec, it's mostly Revenue Quebec that we call, right? Because they have the mandatory role of also representing the CRA in the province. But I've had to call them a bunch of times because, taxes in this goddamn province and country, complicated, especially in corporate level. There's so many nuance. So I've called them before for information. So you're telling me I'm better off guessing because I'm probably going to be induced in error by calling them.
Yeah, pretty much. You have better odds of getting a better answer from AI or Google than actually calling the tax man.
You know what? I think we should petition and lobby the government to just buy us all a subscription of ChatGPT or Grok, and instead we just fire all of CRA and we fund every Canadian a $30 a month allowance for AI. We'll be better off.
We're joking, but I'm sitting and I'm listening to you talk, and like this topic really frustrates me, and that's why I prepared the segment. The segment that I prepared, and I'm really excited to talk about it. It's going to contrast the numbers on such a deep level that it will, if it doesn't infuriate you as a hardworking Canadian, as a hardworking taxpayer, something is wrong with you. If you look at these numbers and tell yourself, oh yeah, it seems normal. Everything seems to be totally fine here. Nothing to report.
Well, you see, and we've touched on this before, but there's this apathy in Canada, whereas like even the numbers you're about to raise, and I'm sure it's going to get my blood boiling. And there's so many Canadians that just are going to listen to this and be like, meh. Like it's the apathy of like, whatever. They don't understand it. Why?
I think there's so much information that has to be condensed into something that's palatable for the average person to process this and say, holy fuck, I'm getting fucking scammed.
Yeah. So do you think it's just an information overload that people are being fed daily?
I think it's just the taxes are divided into so many different portions and it all just adds up to like most of your income.
Right. So it's just
it's divided. It's so segmented.
Yeah.
Beyond income tax, beyond sales tax, there's just so many little gremlins that just pop up and take your money from your pocket. That when you view it in terms of percentages, percentages really puts things into perspective because you look at it as a piece of the whole. You could say like, oh, the government spent $10 billion. No one will really understand the impact of the $10 billion. But if someone tells you the government spent like 10% of the tax base that they received on this program of this year, they spent 10% of their revenue this year on this program, and it's like 10% on, I don't know, gender fluid rice in Vietnam. Like it really paints something. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but it really paints something into perspective. Yeah.
And that's a good point. Is that we lose track of big numbers when we say like, oh, the government's running, I don't know, like a $50 or $60 billion deficit. Like, what does that mean to the average person? Like you and I understand that it's a ridiculously high number, but it's hard to fathom, right? So okay, so why don't we get into it? Okay, 10 years of Liberals. It's not a big thing. I'll just compare what 10 years of Liberal looks like compared to Conservatives. And then after that, we can probably dive very deeply into the taxes, okay? So I call this the 10 years of Liberal report card. So they've been in power right now from 2015 to 2025. And I focus on 3 points. The first one, the federal debt under the Liberal went from $612 billion up to $1,273 billion. Now you're going to say that's not how you pronounce the number. You're right. I'm just trying to make it more palatable for people. It's $1.273 trillion. That is up 108% in 10 years. Okay, so we've more than doubled the debt. That's something. Cool.
And you're just talking about the federal debt right now. There's the household debt as well, which is, absolutely astronomical.
Oh, it's insane. But then I focus on the second thing. Federal bureaucracy, because that's a huge cost for people. So the federal bureaucracy jumped from 257,000 bureaucrats up to 368,000 bureaucrats, which is a 43% increase. Now, the one thing I want people to question themselves is, have you been getting 43% better service from your government?
Not at all.
The opposite, right?
Right, as the Attorney General found with the CRA report.
It's gone down the shitter. And then I focus on the real GDP per capita, right? So that takes into account inflation. So it's in constant dollar value, as we call it. So the real GDP per capita stayed the same. Now you may be like, well, that's okay, right? No. That's a decade of stagnation, a decade where you did not get richer while all other OECD countries, all of them, not a single one, performed worse than Canada. They all got richer while we stayed the same. So we stayed stagnant at $52,000 of real GDP per capita. That is a lost decade. That's what it's called.
It's not just a lost decade. You have to contrast that with the level of indebtedness that has increased while we have stagnated.
It makes it worse.
It's not just, we're the same as we were the last 10 years. It's we're the same economically, or if not worse.
Yeah.
And by the way, we pay more on interest.
Yeah.
On interest charges on our federal debt.
For sure.
Than pretty much any other line item.
Well, that's because, although real GDP per capita takes into account inflation, the one thing it does not take into account is the tax burden that has increased over 10 years. We contribute more of our income now to taxes than we did 10 years ago, which means that at the end of the day, disposable income is actually down in Canada, hence why debt has probably increased, household debt has increased. But now let's look at what 10 years of, because, we say liberals, we hate them, they suck, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's have a benchmark, because before the Liberal government were in power for 10 years, there was a Conservative government that was in power for nearly 10 years, 9 years, right? Under the leadership of Stephen Harper from 2006 to 2015. So let's look at the same three things. So the federal debt under the Conservative Party, well, I'm so used to saying Liberal all the time, I got to say Conservative. The federal debt under the Conservative Party did increase 27%. I want to reiterate. 108% under the Liberals, 27% under the Conservatives. That is 5 times less than what happened under the Liberals. So we went up from 481 billion to 612 billion. And keep in mind, on his last federal budget, Stephen Harper had a balanced budget, which meant no deficit. It meant money coming in, money coming out even.
Beyond that, you could see that the federal debt levels were coming down. If we can pick up that chart at some point in this episode, we can show that chart that the level of indebtedness of Canada was actually coming down until Trudeau came in and started slowly hiking the deficits. This is something we talked about
That's a very good
couple
point.
Episodes ago.
Very good point, because he was actually paying down the debt, right? So that is a very good point. The bureaucracy, well, it did go up. It went up. Okay, from 250,000 bureaucrats to 257,000 bureaucrats. That's 3%. That's 3%. I think that's on pace with the population growth. So you know what? I would still rather see it come down, because I think it's still bloated. But if it must go up, at least let it go up with population growth.
Absolutely. And 3% is not something that you look at as, oh my God, this cataclysmic change in government size,
Especially not in a decade.
Yeah, the Liberals added, like you said, 40%. Over 40%,
Exactly.
43%?
Yeah, 43%, that's right.
Yeah.
And as for real GDP per capita, it went up. It went up from $50,000 to $52,000. So that's 4%. So Canadian families were 4% richer after a Harper government, a 10-year, than Liberals.
Let's contrast one more fact. The Canadian dollar, on average, traded at just around 90 cents US throughout Stephen Harper's tenure. Towards the end of the tenure, the Canadian dollar started to collapse. But throughout his tenure in as the Prime Minister, the Canadian dollar was trading much more strongly.
Nearly at parity.
And
sometimes even above.
We're down to 71 cents US. That is a drastic decrease. And, Keynesians and people will always say, oh, but that means our exports will go up because people will demand more Canadian goods, but our manufacturing numbers are abysmal.
Yeah, they're sucking really badly. They're really, really, really sucking. And speaking of graphs, so there's 4 graphs, and we're not going to dive deep into them. We're just going to show them real quick on screen, just to support, to give a little bit of meat around the bones here of to what I'm talking about regarding these. So if we load, so we've spoken about this before. Business investment per capita, Canada versus United States. So Canada and the US kind of were always on track up until the Liberal government came into power in 2015, whereas Canada has dropped its level of business investments per capita, and the US has continued to trend upwards. That is horrible for the economy, and it's important to note. Next, the Canada business investment, again, lags behind the US, but this is a little bit different. This is non-residential investment as percentage of GDP. So it's a little bit of a different metric here. And once again, the US is trending upwards. Canada was following suit beforehand up until the Liberal hit in 2015. And it's been, it's been same level as like 2002. It's such a steep dive, man. It's such a steep dive. It's insane. Another one here. Actually, let's go. Yeah, so we mentioned the real GDP per capita. So once again, the US and Canada, we're on track. US, Canada, we are truly tethered at the hip. But there's been a decoupling again in 2015, whereas the US continued to trend upwards, real GDP per capita, and Canada has, like we said, stagnated. It has stayed flat.
Far behind the United States.
Far behind for 10 years. And lastly, let's compare to our peer nation, because the US is obviously an oddity. It is the #1 economy in the world, but let's compare it to Italy, Japan, Great Britain, France, and Deutschland, Germany. We can easily see here on this graph that once again, Canada is bottom of the barrel. We are tracking behind. Heck, other nations are stagnating, it seems, except for the US that's increasing, but Canada's kind of gone down over the last year or two. That statistic, guys, is as scary as it gets. I cannot stress that enough. And we can now discuss.
We have to understand why business investment
please do.
is tanking in this country. Mm-hmm. And so I think this is a great time to take a look at that segment that I prepared.
Yes.
So let's get into it, okay? And I made this example based on Ontario. Why? Because Toronto is located in Ontario. It's the capital of the country. I mean, it's the economic hub. It's the economic hub. Ottawa is the capital of the country. Mm-hmm. And so, it's the best place to get an example from. So here it is.
Let's do it.
The Canadian tax scam. Let's get into it.
Dun, dun, dun.
So the average worker in Ontario earns about $65,000 a year. And that sounds decent, right? Let's see how much of that the Ontarian actually keeps. So you get your $65K a year, right? Federal and provincial income tax, $19.5K, okay, $19,500. These are rough numbers, but very close. CPP and employment insurance deductions, $4,000. Your take-home pay is roughly $41,500 after earning $65,000. So the government, before you even touch your money, the government has already taken just around $23,500 from your cash. Then you get your money, you got to go shopping. You got to buy things you need.
You got to live.
You do.
You got to live.
So you go shopping, you got to pay a 13% HST. So you spend your after-tax dollars, money that you've already paid income tax on, to then pay 13% on all your purchases. So your $41,500 take home really buys around $36,700 worth of goods. So far, you've earned $65K, and really that $65K buys you around $36,700 of real purchases.
Right.
We're not talking about goods. We're talking about purchases.
So your disposable income.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And most people think that at this point, we're done paying taxes.
Not yet.
No. There are hidden taxes inside everything you buy. So every product you buy has taxes baked into it. So let's just say gasoline. Gasoline has a 10-cent federal excise tax, 9-cent provincial fuel tax, which adds up to 19 cents per liter in direct tax. And then they charge you the 13% HST on top of that. So that compounds.
Absolutely. It's a tax on a tax.
And then you have to remember that if you're buying from a store, if you're buying from even online, you're buying from a company that has overhead. That overhead and they pay taxes. What taxes? So trucking, retail, manufacturing, okay? They pay property tax, payroll tax, corporate tax, and all of those taxes are passed on to you in the price that you pay for the goods that you buy.
Absolutely.
So by the time you pay at the bill, roughly 25 to 45% of every price tag is baked in taxes.
Shit.
That means your $36,700 of spending power really buys you closer to around $25,000 of real goods and services.
In Canadian dollars.
Okay, we're not done yet.
Just pesos.
And you would think after this miserable result that, we're done.
Yeah.
We're not done.
Please,
we're not done.
Deliver us.
We're not done.
Deliver us of this misery. Please, no more.
We're
Please,
not
no
done.
more.
Next, you want to buy a house. Let's say you're a couple, two people earning $65K each.
Yeah.
Okay. You get to buy your first condo for $500K in Toronto. Okay. You're excited. You're a young couple. You're in Toronto. You got a solid job. Or maybe you live on the outside of Toronto. Maybe you live in Mississauga, Brampton, and you get your first $500K condo. Okay. Land transfer tax. First time buyer, $6,500 roughly.
Ugh.
Okay. First time buyer rebate included. Without it, you would pay around $10,500 if you're not a first time buyer. HST on legal fees, inspection, and insurance, which amounts to around $500 to $700 extra. Mortgage insurance, CMHC, if you're under 20% down, you pay around $10,000 premium and a 13% HST on that premium.
Yeah, it's true, eh?
Okay.
They charge you HST on the housing insurance. And
So-
not like home insurance. We're talking about mortgage insurance.
And this is all on after-tax income.
Mhm.
We just covered
Yeah.
how your purchases.
For sure.
Next. So before they even get the keys, around $8,000 to $10,000 of their after-tax saving is gone to more taxes and fees. Then there's owning the property. It doesn't end. Okay.
My butthole can't handle it anymore. Please.
Property tax, roughly $4,000 a year. That's just straight to the government. Condo fees, you pay tax, utilities, and HST on services. Maintenance and repairs. So you pay HST on the maintenance and repairs, which fair. Home insurance, like insurance is it's a service, but it feels like a tax out of your pocket. So I included insurance, which you also pay taxes on, 8% tax. Utilities, which you also pay HST on, which amounts to roughly $325 a year. So your total yearly cost of living in the condo is about $13,000, and roughly $4,500 of that is pure tax. So
Wait, $13,000, 4,000. So 33% taxes? Most of them are HST. Okay, there's property taxes. That's 4,000.
Sorry, I'm a little lost right now. I just need to.
Yeah, it's okay.
Take a sec to
It's
look at
okay.
this. Hold on.
But no, the question I was having regarding this is just because a lot of the taxes, it's the HST, right? The HST, the harmonized sales tax, which is 13% on everything you fucking buy. But then you have, would you consider, for example,
Okay.
utility?
Sorry,
Yes.
the $13,000 is like property tax, condo fees, maintenance and repairs, home insurance, and utilities.
Right.
All in, it's about $13,000 to live in the
Makes
condo.
sense.
$4,500 of that is pure tax.
So that includes property taxes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
because property tax at $4,000. So there's about $500 then of tax
Additional
on
taxes.
HST. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's just $375. Okay, forget this. Then driving. You want to drive a car? Your insurance will cost you around $2,000 a year plus 8% tax.
Mhm.
That's $160. Registration, $120 a year. Registration is like another hidden tax.
Oh, it is a tax.
Right?
Absolutely.
License and renewal, that's another tax you
Mhm.
pay every year. Gasoline, 44. We already talked about gasoline.
There's so many you got lost.
Yeah.
That's a testament to how many fucking taxes there are. Simmer prepared specifically a segment on taxes, and it's so dense of taxes that he can't even keep up with it. That's a testament to how fucked up it is.
Okay, it's even after your death. So let's say you were able to accumulate any modicum of wealth.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you bought you're like, oh, I got like a triplex and a duplex and I have a couple of tenants living in it and I'm 70 years old. You know, I've worked my whole life. I've paid taxes and taxes. All the taxes I've covered so far, all the taxes we've covered in Canada, in Ontario. After all that, you get your two little investment properties that you're like, you know, I'm going to pass this on to my kids.
You get your couple quarters to clink together. Yes.
Well, your kids will have to pay capital gains tax on money, on income, on assets you've already paid taxes to acquire multiple times. And what do you get for all these taxes? What are we really getting in Canada for all these taxes? Healthcare waits averaging 3 to 6 hours in the ER. Okay, CRA, we just talked about the CRA today. You can't get the CRA on the phone. And when you get them on the phone, most of the time they're getting the answer wrong. And not just 40 to 50, 60% of the time, around 80% of the time, the information you're getting, wrong.
Yeah.
ArriveCan was a disaster. You know, any little government software that comes out like CARM, we talked about CARM, all of these programs bugged, need to be axed, waste of money, spent way too much on it anyways.
Yeah.
Canada Post strike. STM was on strike. We have this massive bureaucracy. All the taxes we're paying, we should have the best social services in the world. It's not even close.
We should. We should.
Despite all these taxes, the government still is projecting $100 billion federal deficit, even after collecting all this taxation from its citizens. What are the laws that they're pushing? Internet control, censorship. They're not addressing the economy. Like we were talking about 10 years of the Liberals.
But do you think that they're not addressing the economy? Because to be honest with you, at this point, it is just so fucked that it is just unfixable.
No trade deal and no legislation around cutting bureaucracy and cutting taxes for
But do you think
workers.
it's fixable though?
Is it fixable in this situation?
Yeah.
There's
do
like,
you think we're beyond, or do you think it's still redeemable? Like we can redeem ourselves?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
But if you look at the level of indebtedness in this country, and last week we covered a chart that we were showing a chart that showed that Canada's economic state resembles that of the United States before the 2008 financial crisis. So that Canada is looking very similar.
Yeah, we're like in a bubble, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so personally, I think that there's going to be a massive financial crisis in this country. I think the dollar is going to tank. I think
so. How can people?
We've talked about this.
But how can people? Do you have a recommendation of how people can, as best as possible, protect themselves, or at least brace for the impact? Is there something that people can do, or is just like tough luck? We're all gonna bleed.
If the government really deregulates and shrinks the size of the bureaucracy, we have so many riches in this country.
Yeah.
You covered that in just the last episode. You're talking about Canada is one of the wealthiest countries in the world by far. And if people knew how hard they were getting scammed by the government and how wealthy and well off they could actually be, they would be rioting in the streets. The issue in Canada is not just the government. It's the lack of awareness that the population has.
Yeah.
You know, the just me sitting down and doing this homework and preparing this segment on taxes, it took me, you know, a few hours to sit down, gather all my knowledge, put it all together. And even then, it's hard to like fathom the level of taxation in this country.
It is. I think.
And so if you're not aware of it as a citizen, you will be a victim of it.
Yeah.
And so
most people are not aware of it.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's what drives the left's power so much is the ignorance, of its voter base. The fact that most Canadians don't know this about how they're being taxed, their money.
Yeah.
Like that's what you need to survive. You work every day. You should understand the taxation system. You should understand compounding taxes. You should understand federal levels of debt. You should understand household debt. You should understand business investment per capita in the country, how it's tanking. You should understand that the Canadian dollar is tanking.
Yeah.
You pay taxes.
But I think it stems back again to the education system. And also, my biggest strife in all this is source deductions. I think source deduction is the biggest scam because it keeps people blind. I can't tell you, and I'm sure you've seen this before, I can't tell you how many times people, I ask them, okay, what's your income? And they kind of like somewhat even know their income. They don't even really know their income. And then I'm like, is that your pre or post-tax income? They don't even fucking know. Most people don't know where their money is going. Look, at my company, obviously, like I did payroll, I took care of payroll and whatnot. And the amount of time all the pay stubs were sent electronically, right? It wasn't like printed or anything or handed. It was electronic pay stub. And they have a portal where every employee can go and check their pay stub privately. And I could see the audit log. I could see how often or when an employee would log on to go check their fucking pay stub. The answer is, I think there was one guy that did it religiously. And I spoke to him because he downloaded it locally on his computer because he wanted to have access to it. Every single other employee never checked their fucking pay stub a single time, which means they don't know where their taxes are going. They have no idea. And that's the common Canadian right there.
So I made a final scorecard
yes.
on the I called it the Canadian tax scam.
Okay.
So the Ontario worker making 65K, right? Let's go back to him for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Earned income 65K, after payroll and income taxes 41K. 41K left, so 64% of it left. After HST on spending, 36,700, 56% left.
Yeah.
After hidden taxes and fees, 33,000, 51% left. After property and car costs, 25,000 to 28,000, 40% left for real life.
Shit. So we're giving that what, an F?
That's a yeah.
It's an F.
It's a
Minus
Z.
F.
It's a Z.
You're getting a double F.
So the average Torontonian earns around 65K, takes home 41K, and ends up maybe living on 25K after taxes, fees, and inflation. And we haven't counted inflation or import taxes. So duties.
Duties, yeah.
So all this, and I still haven't counted two more taxes. Inflation. People think inflation, they're just like, oh, the price is going up. That's what inflation is. The price is just going up. Inflation in economic terms is simply an increase in the money supply.
Yep.
That's all it is. The traditional economic literature, that's the definition. Increase in the money supply. The government printing money.
Yep. That's all it is. But the thing is, when you print money, you devalue everyone else's money.
Yes.
Which means the money you already have is not worth as much.
And that's a hidden tax.
It's a hidden tax. Look, the best way to look at it is take a pie, take a big fat pie, right? You have one pie, you separate it in 4 pieces. You get 2, I get 2. Now we keep the same pie, but we divide it in 7 pieces. Well, I only get 2 pieces that are much smaller now all of a sudden. I still get 2 pieces, but they're much smaller. They're worth less.
That's a great way to explain it.
That's the exact same thing. And this probably is one of the reasons why it leads Canada to have, or Canadians to have to take on debt to survive. Because if you look at the household debt as share of GDP, Canada right now ranks at the top. You know, sure, like, okay, a lot of Canadians will be like, yeah, but the US has more debt than Canada. Yeah, an absolute amount, of course. They also have a GDP that fucking blows us out of the water, right? But if you compare debt, household debt as share of GDP, Canada ranks, I won't tell you right away. I'll start from the bottom. Turkey is at 11%, Mexico, 16%, Indonesia, 16%, Russia, 22%, Saudi Arabia, 32%, Brazil, 34%, South Africa, 34%. Okay, those are all like meh countries. Now let's look at Germany, 52%. That's pretty bad. China, 62%. France, 63%. Okay, the US, 73%. Oh, that sounds pretty bad. The UK, 80% of their household debt as share of GDP. Okay, that sounds bad. Well, Canada, drum roll. 103%. 103%.
One of the highest in the G7, I believe.
It is the highest in the G7.
There we go.
And that means that Canada has, oh my God, 103% of their household debt as share of GDP. That is, guys, we're not doing
yesterday
good.
When I was preparing this Canadian tax scam segment, I had this moment that lasted around 2 to 3 hours. Okay, this mood. Sorry, not the moment. This mood that lasted around 2 to 3 hours, where I was just like angry. Okay, and Why? Because we're paying all these taxes for a country with a dollar losing its purchasing power, getting gutted by inflation,
Mm-hmm.
the Canadian dollar is tanking versus other major currencies. We have healthcare that does not work, housing that is not accessible, food becoming unaffordable, postal services on strike, STM on strike. People cannot even go to work. Our roads are destroyed. The government cannot balance the budget, and they are putting us deeper in debt despite our level of taxation.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a businessman. I studied economics. I studied finance. I studied business. Okay. Do you really want me to take this country seriously right now based on these numbers we're seeing? I cannot take our institutions seriously anymore because they do not take themselves seriously. They don't take the taxpayers seriously, and they don't take the economic state of affairs in this country seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark Carney has done such a poor job since he has gotten into office that the trade deal is not done. Inflation is ticking back up. He has passed no legislation or even tried to pass any legislation to really critically address the economy by taking the pressure off of businesses and workers.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we're at in Canada right now.
It makes me laugh whenever you see Canadians right now. They're saying like, "Okay, we're gonna stay away from the U.S. If for vacation, we're gonna go elsewhere because we don't like the U.S." And I think what they're really saying is, you're not going to the U.S. because you can't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
Sure, it's because you want to boycott the U.S. It's not because the dollar doesn't buy you a fucking a Dunkin' Donut anymore over there.
Jesus.
Yeah. When speaking of how hurt Canada or Canadians are, a new report that came out this morning from the Foodbanks of Canada that says that the country's hunger crisis is worsening at an accelerated pace. The organization says that there were 2.2 million monthly visits to Canadian food banks in March of this year. The number is always lagging a little bit behind, right? Now keep in mind that is usage that is up 340% since 2019.
It's unreal.
That is insane.
Unreal.
It is so high.
And you know why it is, right? Like Canada's inflation rate rose 2.4%, up from 1.9% in August. So in September, inflation rose to 2.4%, up from 1.9%. That's a drastic acceleration, with grocery prices being the main cause behind the price hikes. Economists say that this increase was higher than expected. So our food prices are going up. And so obviously food bank usage will increase.
Absolutely. And here are like three things that like blew my mind. The first one in the report is that newcomers to Canada represented a significant number of food bank users. And I just want to stop here and say, why the fuck are you coming to Canada? We used to again work on a point system for immigration. If you could not support yourself or you did not show your ability to bring positive economic value to Canada, you were not granted the right to come here. When we accept immigrants into Canada, they should not be a drain on the system. Okay, to give you an idea, when I go spend time in Portugal in the winter, for example, and I want to extend my visa waiver, my tourist visa waiver entry into Portugal, I have to demonstrate a few things: that I have medical insurance, that I have a ticket back home, that I have a job and or enough income to support myself, and that I have medical insurance. Why? Because they don't want me to be a drag on their medical system. They want me to be able to pay for medical services if I need it. They want to make sure I have money so that I don't end up being a drag on their food banks or on their fucking programs. They want to make sure I have money. Doesn't that make sense? You allow someone to come as a guest into your country. They should not be taking from the people who build the country, who contribute to the country. All those programs are there for these people, the locals, the residents, not for foreigners. So that one pissed me off when I saw newcomers to Canada represented a significant number of food bank users. Another one that broke my heart, this one, however, is that 33% of the users were children. So that is catastrophic. Out of 2.2 million monthly users, that is what, like 750,000 of them are kids. That's almost 1 million kids that are not living in an economically stable home and that require food banks. That breaks my heart. But the one that is shocking the most, and this is a testament to the poor economic environment of Canada right now, is that 1 in 5 food bank users have jobs. Because you assume that food bank users are homeless people or people down on their luck or they just lost their jobs. Well, 20% of them are people that have jobs. They're employed.
Oh my God.
They're just too poor to be able to afford food, a basic necessity. We're not talking you're too poor to drive a Mercedes-Benz, bro, and to fucking go pop bottles at the club on the weekend. No. They're too poor to be able to afford fucking food, and not filet mignon steaks here, like ramen noodles. They can't even
And remember, Canada as a country is food independent. Our country has the capacity to make enough food to feed our nation just by itself.
Hey, shit.
And the fact that working class Canadians cannot afford food as a necessity, probably because their housing costs are through the freaking roof. And so.
But here's the issue too, okay? And you're going to have like the more left-leaning individual is going to say, yeah, but we should raise the minimum wage. People should live or have a livable wage. That fundamentally does not understand the whole system. It doesn't matter how much I pay someone. I'll keep increasing the minimum wage or the livable wage up to a point. Guess what? Everything else around will keep going up too. The cancer is first from the government, the cost of it, and the inability to operate without deficits, because the increase in deficit, increase inflation as well. And that it trickles down. Another thing that the left loves to do is attack trickle-down economics, right? It's like, fucking trickle-down economics doesn't work. Well, you know what actually does happen, though? Trickle-down debt is a real thing, too. If your government takes on so much debt, that trickles down to everyone. And that disproportionately affects the working class that are living paycheck to paycheck. When inflation hits, asset prices go up. Rich people that are asset rich, they love it. Their assets go up. It doesn't affect them. But it's the people that depend on cash, aka their paycheck, that get hit. And those are also the people that paid a disproportionate amount of their income in taxes. They're the ones as well that when you go and you buy something, you pay HST or PST or GST, sales taxes in short, VAT in Europe as they call it, that are also disproportionately affected by it. It's the worker class that get hit through inflation and all those government taxation. It's not the rich, man. It's never been.
And that's what bothers me about Mark Carney. That's what bothers me about this liberal government that we've had for so long at this point.
Yeah.
You know what Mark Carney said recently? That Canadians need to prepare to make sacrifices to get this economy back on its track.
And it's interesting you mentioned this, because that brings to the news that elections, maybe elections. See, we have a federal budget that's coming up. That's supposed to drop November 4th. And so far, according to the House leader, McKinnon, they don't have the votes for it. So in short, when the House of Commons votes on a budget, if the budget fails, that is considered a vote of non-confidence, and as such, it sends the country back into an election, right? Because if government cannot operate without money that is appropriated, right, without a budget. So now let's look at it, because he had to. So yeah, the budget is slated to be so poor, so horrible.
$100 billion. Let's just call it what it is.
I'm gonna go. One sec. All right, so that's the thing, right? So right now, the budget, and nobody knows 100%, right? It's all speculation. So we have Desjardins, the bank, estimates that the federal deficit this year will be the highest in 30 years. Now, they're saying that it should be around 70 billion. However, they say it could also be higher, and reports estimate range anywhere from 60 billion on the very optimistic side, which I don't believe. And it does indeed go all the way up to $100 billion on the more pessimistic side.
It's going to come in at like 90-something billion, I have no doubt.
We should do a bet, dude.
I'll do it.
We should do like I'm sure there's something on Kalshi. It's called Kalshi, yeah, or Polymarket. I'm sure there's a Polymarket.
What is the federal?
Yeah, let's go on Polymarket right now.
Be?
Last time I did a Polymarket bet was during the elections. Me and Curtis did a Polymarket bet, and I lost like $400 because I thought the Conservatives were going to win. I was like, that's it, they're going to win. I put $400 on Polyev and I got wrecked. So let's write federal budget here on Polymark. I'm just curious real quick to look. It's all American stuff though. Yeah, no, there's no federal. How many days? No, there's no federal budget. Canada. I'm just going to write Canada. Maybe something's going to come up. Bank of Canada decision. No. Will Canada join the U.S. as a 51st state? 1%. Canada in recession? Okay, so there's none. But anyways, so you say 90-ish billion?
Yeah, I think it's going to come in at around 92, 93 billion. That's my bet. If I had to put money on it, that's what I would say.
So right now, the reason why they don't have the votes, though, is because, so as we know, the Liberal Party right now is a minority government. They don't have 100%, they don't have enough houses or seats in the House to pass the budget. So they need to get some help. They need to get a few votes. Not many, what's like 7 that they need, something like that. So the NDP right now is honestly just being ambiguous and being like, maybe we will, maybe we won't support. We don't know what the NDP wants to do. And I don't think the NDP even knows what it wants to do because the NDP doesn't even have a leader right now, right? The NDP is like a dead party at this point. Rest in peace. I won't miss you guys. The Conservatives, however, are demanding that the budget stay under 42 billion in deficit, which I still think is insane because I'm against deficits to begin with, but let's stay realistic and realize that we still right now need a deficit. So 42 billion, which is about what we had last year, or what we were supposed to have last year until we blew the guardrail by about 20 billion. And they're also saying that they will only support it if they ditch the industrial carbon tax. Thank God, finally, that'd be great. The Bloc Québécois leader, Yves-François Blanchet, wants to... God, Quebec is going to Quebec. He says he will support the budget only if the budget increases federal health transfers to Quebec, so more money to Quebec as usual, includes new infrastructure investments for Quebec, and they want to boost the old age security for the people between the age of 65 to 75, which, by the way, is right now the biggest line item on the federal budget of Canada. 25% of our fucking budget goes towards paying the old age security. So François Blanchet here wants to increase that even more. That's unrealistic. But as it stands right now, those are the demands of the parties to support the budget, and they are not supporting it. So that prompted Mark Carney to go on TV last week, primetime address, to try to grease us up a little bit, right? To prepare us. And do you want to tell the viewers what he basically told everyone?
Yeah, that Canadians will need to make sacrifices for this, generational investment that we're going to make. But let's just consider that Justin Trudeau, the last 10 years, called all of his budgets investments. What have those investments yielded since then? Okay, Carney has been advising Trudeau since 2020. Since Justin Trudeau's been making investments. Yeah, like you can probably pull up a whole a whole montage of the number of times Justin Trudeau in the House of Commons said, we're making investments. Yeah. And yet we're still running a massive deficits year to year, growing deficits. And there seems to be no payout.
But I want to know, there you go. I'm like, when is the investment coming in, right?
Yeah, look, 10 years isn't enough to get a return with these liberals. And now Mark Carney is saying he wants to that Canadians need to prepare to make sacrifices when we've already contrasted that Canadians are already making sacrifices. The standard of living for Canadians has gone down in the last 10 years drastically, significantly. It's not even close to what it used to be. And we have to make more sacrifices. When I made the tax presentation today, we contrasted all of that 65K actually really buys you 25K of stuff. That's not enough sacrifices for the Liberal government.
See, you run a business. I run a business. I've raised money before. I've raised millions of dollars from investors.
And he's an economist. Sorry, I'm so sorry. It just rattles me. Go ahead.
I know. Like, it's supposed to be the smart guy here. Supposed to be. See, when you raise money from investors, they have a horizon that they budget before they see their money back, right? They invest for you on a 5-year horizon in the VC field normally. So that means we give you money for 5 years, we won't see lick shit from you. But 5 year comes, not only do we want our money back, We want to make money on the money. We want to make a yield. That's the whole point of investment, to make fucking money, right? So all these investments that Canada's made for Canadians, I want to know, as the taxpayer, as the shareholder of Canada, when are we slated to see the yield on that investment? That's what I want to know.
Never.
Well, there
Never.
you go.
It's in their offshore bank accounts, but hey.
Probably. And you make an interesting point. He says a lot of things. So yes, he did say that we had to make sacrifices, which kills me because young Canadians, not boomers, but young Canadians have been making sacrifice above sacrifice, upon sacrifice, and more sacrifice.
Still living with their parents.
There you go.
Their salaries are not worth that much.
They're foregoing making families.
Yes.
There's so many things, right?
Sacrifices, Mr. Prime Minister.
But yeah, those are sacrifices indeed. But one thing that gets me about the Liberals, and you pointed it out very well, it's the double speak. It's all the little words they use all the time. For example, Carney said, we have to play to win. We have, to make sacrifices. It's all these little things. Where's the substance? I want to know what is going to be in the budget. When you talk to me, don't tell me we got to play to win. We got to stick together. We got to look at new trading partners. Canada, there you go. See, those are great examples. That's just fluff. This is the kind of shit, by the way, I used to tell my investors whenever I had bad news. I would try to fluff them up with some big fucking words that mean nothing. I know the trick. But that's what he's doing to us. He's fluffing us. What is the substance? Give us the meat and bones here. I mean, the meat and potatoes here. We're so broke, we're living off of bones. But yeah, what's going on? So anyways, what I'm trying to say ultimately is when you listen to Carney speak, try to decipher where is the substance, the value in the message, and you realize they're all filler words. They're all fluffy words. They're the kinds of words you hear from these internet gurus. You know the guys that sell you these fucking courses like Ty Lopez or like Shelby Sapp, all these like honestly fucking scammers that just recycle free stuff online and charge you $4,000 for it per course. You listen to them talk and sell you. It's all fluff language. It's not actual data. It's not actual. And this is why on this show, what we try to do all the time is to come up with facts, come up with information that we try to digest a little bit and present in an interesting format. But nonetheless, it's not just big, grandiose words that mean nothing. Yeah. It's actual value.
And Mark Carney would never address the shareholders of Brookfield the way he addresses the taxpayers.
That's a very good point.
He preys on their stupidity in the way he makes these addresses, okay? And the worst thing about Mark Carney is how he talks out of both sides of his mouth. Okay, politically. And this is something that I've been noticing since he got into power and since the election cycle. It's the same old liberal playbook. For example, on one side, he says, we're going to build the strongest economy in the G7, right? Campaign promise. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7. And on the other side, he says, we're going to take climate action to reduce emissions. So you can't reduce emissions. You can't grow an economy without producing emissions. You can't grow businesses without producing emissions. And if you talk to any serious business owner or business person, rather, if you talk to any serious business person or an engineer, they will tell you the same thing. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to reduce emissions while growing the economy. Right? How are we going to do that with our technology?
But another good one that they do all the time is when they say we will make housing affordable without dropping the price of homes. Yeah. Because the problem is because they're trying to appeal to both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have 70% of Canadians that are homeowners, mostly boomers, and then you have the 30% youth that is disenfranchised about it. And they don't
want votes from both.
Yeah, the boomers obviously don't want housing to go down because probably most of their retirement is in their fucking home, right? Their equity, their net worth is pretty much tied to their primary residence. But then you have the youth, they're just like, we're dying, we're crumbling. So we're going to make housing affordable while making sure to keep housing stable.
Yeah. It gets even worse. On one side, he says that our trading relationship with the U.S. is over. You know, to I guess to rally his far left base. Yeah. And then he says we have and then on the other side he says we have the best trade deal with the U.S.
That was a funny one.
It's ridiculous. And then
because on that topic,
on top of that, sorry, I'm so sorry. On top of that, he tells Trump that Canada will invest in the U.S. and invest more in the U.S. in the years to come.
Yeah, but he also says, for example, that now Canada has to divest from the US and is looking to create bonds with Asian nations instead. It's just the flip. They like to attack Trump and say that he's taco, right? They call him a taco. So like one day he says one thing, the next he does the other. But I mean, and that's pretty much what's happening right now with our prime minister. It's just he's saying two things that they're paradoxes.
Talking out of both sides of his mouth.
Exactly.
On one side, he'll say publicly he's going to stand up to Donald Trump. But then he goes up to Trump and he tells him, oh, I wore red for you. It's so pathetic. It's loving, so pathetic.
That was so cute.
Okay. I don't know how Canadians, and more specifically like clueless liberals and NDP voters, like don't want to put the effort into educating themselves to see these things, but it's really putting a drag on our country.
Yeah, no, we're in a tough spot. We definitely are in a tough spot. But I'd love.
You want to talk about the ad?
Yeah. I'm like speechless. I don't even know what to say anymore. I like half of me is like demoralized.
I know. That's what I told you. The tax scam is gonna kill your vibe, bro.
Like fucking, I'm demoralized. That Yuri Gorbachev there was
Bezmenov.
Yeah.
He was right.
He's right. I'm demoralized.
40 years ago.
I know. Well, okay. Let's try to make the next segment a little bit more fun. Okay. So this is what happens when you take a hit off Rob Ford's crack pipe, right? So we got Doug Ford, who's the premier of Ontario. He's also the brother of Rob Ford, the most famous mayor of New York, of course. Well known for doing hits of crack cocaine on the weekends and getting caught saying some stupid shit like he's got more than enough pussy at home to eat. So have you ever seen that? Because like some lady was saying he was making passes at her or whatever, and he's like, I wouldn't do that. I got more than enough pussy at home to eat.
It's kind of legendary.
He was a legend. You know what? Death took this guy way too early. I missed two things. I missed the boring Harper days, and I missed the wild Rob Ford days. If both of them were a perfect compliment for Canada. But Doug, his brother, is the premier of Ontario, and Doug really hates Donald Trump, like big time.
I thought it was a great idea to release an ad.
So that's the thing. So, he decided to commission an advert that he ran in the U.S., mostly around the Rust Belt, so mostly around, Democratic leaning, but they voted for Trump in the last election on promise of reinvigorating the industrial sector. And in that ad, they took a radio address or a television address that former President Ronald Reagan made to address the United States during a time of economic turmoil with Japan. And in there, he talks about tariffs and how tariffs are a barrier to, free trade, obviously, and to countries helping and working together. It's not a good thing. However, they deceptively edited part of the ad, the part that mentions that tariffs can, in short bursts, be useful to help counteract deceitful or unfair business practices that other countries are trying to put on to take advantage of the U.S. They edited that part out, the part where condones basically what Donald Trump is doing, what the president is doing against Canada. They're not long, and his goal is not to have forever tariffs on Canada. It's just, we're going to put tariffs until you guys fucking negotiate a deal with us, because right now it ain't fair for us. So Reagan was condoning these things. So he ran that advert in the U.S., and eventually Trump heard about it. And he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Running ads, foreign interference effectively. Propaganda, trying to sway public opinion in the U.S. So he went on Twitter, on X, and on fucking Truth Social saying, you know what? Fuck it. All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby severed, done. And on top of that, let's jack the tariffs another 10%. So I'm just there looking like, wait a second. First of all, why did the Premier of Ontario meddle in foreign affairs? Foreign affairs is explicitly a federal jurisdiction. And to make matters worse, it came out today that apparently Carney and Trump were actually on the verge of a trade deal. They were hammering out the last few steps to finally have a deal.
I don't think so, but maybe.
We'll never know. So the thing is this, ultimately we're not privy to these things, but if that is the case, that there was a trade deal in the works, Doug Ford just came and took a big fat steaming turd on top of it. dude, get the fuck back to your province and take care of your own bullshit. Don't fuck like with Canada like that.
Yeah.
The arrogance, dude. For me, that is absolute arrogance.
I don't know if it's arrogance or if it's just pure naivete, because they take on this like this Team Canada. We're gonna fight. It's how the Liberals won the election.
Yeah.
Okay. They rally the Canadian spirit to fight the U.S. Like create this like rivalry between us and the U.S. You know, we have it in hockey, so they kind of play
Baseball.
on that. They play on that to rally the
base.
Yeah, exactly. Rally the base. And this is just an example of that going too far.
Yeah.
They've taken it too far. It's not about logic anymore. A trade deal doesn't take that long to negotiate. It takes like 1 or 2 meetings. Okay, these are your demands. These are our demands. Let's find maybe a happy medium, or these demands are unreasonable, but we can meet these demands. It doesn't take that long. You've worked in business. I've worked in business. When you negotiate for a house, just think about when you negotiate to buy a house, does the negotiation take 8 months? No.
Normally not.
No.
Normally not.
Why is this negotiation taking so long? It's because this is what Trump actually publicly came out and said this. It's because the Canadians are so hard to negotiate with.
Yeah.
They've been able to, they're closer to closing a trade deal with Mexico, one of the largest exporter of narcotics. They're able to get a trade deal with them, but they cannot get a trade deal done in Canada because the base is just uninformed, and the politicians prey on it, and it puts them in a position where they cannot give reasonable business-friendly concessions that any normal, patriotic, Canada-loving individual would make.
Yeah. I've seen some comments about it too. Some people defending Doug Ford and Canada, obviously, and saying like, well, it can't be that bad if we used, like, you know, it's basically public domain stuff. You know, he addressed people over TV and radio. We're just using it. So you know what?
In a deceptive way.
In a deceptive way. But I also thought about like, okay, let's flip the table around. How would Canadians react if America tried to run an ad today to try to sway public opinion, to create discourse within Canada, right? And what they would do is that they would take a John A. Macdonald, right, our first prime minister. He addressed in 1885 the House of Commons, and he said, and I fucking quote, "If Chinese were not excluded from Canada, the Aryan character of the future British America would be destroyed." That sounds pretty fucking racist to me, buddy. You know? So imagine if they just ran that shit to try to create this discourse, this white versus colored, this Canada is racist, this, you know, just a bunch of things to sow discord. And then they'd be like, well, you know what? It's public domain. These words were actually spoken in the House of Commons. Yeah. First of all, it probably takes everything, you know, out of context. Number two, that was 1885. That was fucking 200 years ago, you know? Well, not 200, but whatever, 150 years ago. Same thing. Reagan's time was a different time. That was like 50 years ago. And it was deceptively edited. It's not okay. It's foreign nations deceptively trying to influence the local base. We've never done this before. It's not okay. I'm completely against it, especially coming from a provincial government. Like, you guys have enough issues. Go fucking deal with it. It's disgusting. So let's do something then. Let's do something. Let's compare the U.S. tariffs on Canada before Carney and today, after Carney. Because guess what? We were sold that he was the best man to negotiate a deal. Still no deal. But above and beyond no deal, we're also getting hit with more tariffs, believe it or not. So before Carney, the softwood lumber tariff was at 14.4%. Currently, 7 months after Carney, the softwood lumber is at 35.16%, so it's more than doubled. The steel and aluminum tariff before Carney was 25%. Today, it stands at 50%. The other non-USMCA goods was 25%, and currently, other non-USMCA goods is at 45%. On top of that, cars and trucks now are tariffs at 25%. They weren't before. Copper is now tariffed at 50%. It wasn't before. And wait, some of these are slated to increase because softwood lumber is actually going to increase to 45.16% very soon. And cabinets and wood furniture is going to increase to 25%, whereas it's not at all right now. The only ones that have stayed the same is energy at 10%, critical minerals at 10%, and potash at 10%. So we're doing considerably worse. This has not increased or benefited us at all. It's actually hurt us.
And liberals will inadvertently defend Mark Carney and say, but this is Donald Trump's doing. Donald Trump is this crazy man and he's raising the tariffs. Like, no, Donald Trump is the leader of a country. His job, according to him, his job is to fight for American interests.
Exactly.
Right? And this is something he stated. He's like, we're competitors in business.
Yeah.
He sees the US as this massive economy. And he said, you guys want to join us, or compete with us, or compete in business. Yeah. That's how it works in the world. You have to compete. The issue in Canada is that the government makes it so difficult to compete, has made it so impossible to compete in this country that we cannot compete with the US. And Donald Trump knows that. Donald Trump knows that we have useless liberals in power who will not make the changes necessary.
It makes me laugh because every time you talk about liberals, you get so useless. It's like you get riled
useless.
up.
It's useless. You're useless if you haven't been able to negotiate a trade deal in 7 months after that was your main election campaign.
Yeah, it's definitely been failing.
It's a complete dumpster fire, this liberal party. Okay, there's no other way to look at it, quite frankly. And I said this on another episode, if we want to compete with Donald Trump, if we want to compete with the US economy, if we want a thriving Canadian economy, we need government to get out of the way, and not just by 2% or 1% like they promise. Significantly, we need to gut our bureaucracy by 50% overnight. Javier Milei style. You're out of a job. Go home, public worker. Go get a job in the private sector and build something of real value.
Yeah.
People on the left will hate me, but I will always stand as an individual against bloated bureaucracies and useless government workers. That's how I describe them. If you're offended, that's your problem.
And the way you describe it is interesting. That's a good example maybe we can do, right? So Canada and the US and Canada and other countries are in competition. So let's compare it to a private sector. It's like if you had the Canada Inc. and you had USA Inc., two companies that operate in a very similar sector. And you have Canada Inc. that is losing market share right now, right? So USA Inc. is gaining in market share, and Canada Inc. is losing in market share. And the shareholders of Canada Inc. are not happy because, you know what? They're not making money. Whereas the shareholder of USA Inc. are happy because they're making more money. But USA Inc. decides to go to Canada Inc. and says, you know what? We propose a M&A, a merger and acquisition. We can merge our two companies. We will integrate and absorb you. We will take the shareholders and we will issue them with our own shares. And the employees of Canada Inc. will be taken care of, although there may be some cuts because we have to, integrate things. But it will be better for both of our countries because you, Canada Inc., you have access to some things we don't have access. But meanwhile, we have a much, much, much bigger company and we have more capacity to exploit the things you guys have, the resources that you're not exploiting. And Canada Inc. is saying, no, we will stay independent. Don't you dare merge with us. So USA Inc., like any other company, what do they say? They say, you know what? Fair. We'll let you operate in a silo by yourself because we're nice and humble and we're not going to do what's right for our shareholder by taking you over and competing you. No, we're going to back off and actually hurt our shareholders. No, that's not what companies do. They have a fiduciary duty to increase shareholder value. No. So USA Inc. is saying instead, fuck it. We're going to compete against you and we will put the hurt on you. We will use all trade practices we have and all business practices we have to squeeze you until you either relent, make a deal with us, or get acquired by us. That happens daily in the private sector. That is normal day-to-day corporate life. But when it happens in countries, Canadians are like, but Donald Trump is so mean. He's so mean. Why would he do that to us? Because life is a competition, pal. That's how it works. And Donald Trump doesn't owe you shit. You're Canadian. He owes his ass to only one group of individuals, the American taxpayer, the American citizen. That is the only people he cares about. He has no obligation to help Europe, no obligation to help Canada, no obligation to not bomb the shit out of Venezuelan freaking drug boats. He has only one obligation, to make sure the American citizen is as rich, as safe, and as prosperous as fucking possible. And he's doing just that. That was my point.
It's a great point.
I mean, I think
it's a completely valid point, 100%.
And another thing too is that Canada says, well, you know what, fuck it. Let's find other trade partners, because they say this all the time. We'll just find other trade partners, right? Guys, it's not doable. Canada exports 76.4% of all their trades to the US.
Yes, because we share a border. We physically share a border. They are our next door neighbors. And it happens to be the biggest economy, one of the largest economies in the world.
We're so lucky.
To not work with them, to not negotiate with them, to not reduce our trade barriers, to lower our prices for our people is absolute malarkey. And this is the kind of stuff that Liberals and NDP voters do not understand, do not take the time to learn, and then make uninformed votes. Like, we're going to go elbows up against the US with our collapsing dollar. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
We stand to benefit to work with them. Already 3/4 of all of our export goes to the US. Like you said, the biggest market, right? By the way, that's almost $600 billion in 2024, right? Almost $600 billion. But like, okay, like, which other country are we going to go for? Which other country, right? The second closest country is China at 3.83% of the share of our export. That's $30 billion that we sent to China, which is not as competitive because you got to ship it through fucking freight. You've done import. I've done import as well, right? Dude, the cost of freight is an important cost, dude.
Yeah, and it's logistically far more difficult to just put stuff in a truck and drive it down to the US. It's far less difficult to do that than it is to bring containers overseas.
Still got to put them on trucks to a port or on trains to a port.
Takes longer to ship, makes the cash flow much more difficult, makes the transaction far more difficult. Why are we not working with the Americans?
And the green, the carbon. The carbon.
Oh my God.
The carbon. We're destroying the planet. The carbon, guys. The carbon. Who else are we going to go for? The UK. The UK. That's another $28 billion. That's tiny market. Japan, $15 billion. That's half. Like, we go from China and UK at 30 billion of export that they purchase from us, down to Japan at 15 billion. The next one is another half, another cutting in half. Mexico at 8 billion. Then we go South Korea, 7.6, Netherlands, 7.1. There's no economies in the world that is as rich and as attractive to us as the US can be. It's logistically, like you said, simpler, cheaper, better for the environment. And they have the biggest market. They're buyers. They want our shit. They want our shit. They're craving our shit. They don't need our shit, however. And that's the big difference Canadians don't understand. The US can be energy independent. The US can have water independence. They don't need our water. They don't need our energy. The only reason they have our water and our energy is because we sell it to them at fucking pennies on the dollar. But if they really wanted to, if we push came to shove, like Doug Ford said, we're going to cut the electricity to them. They'd be like, okay, for like an hour or two until their grid system fucking rerouted energy, and then they'd be fine. It would cost them a bit more. At the cost of what for us? 3/4 of our entire fucking economy? Oh my God. The American's going to have to pay an extra $20 on his monthly fucking energy bill while we're dead. Yay. But that's what it is.
The country failed.
The country failed. But we got Joe. We
Elbows up.
Yeah, we got middle America. We got America, guys. Jesus fuck.
It's embarrassing.
It is absolutely embarrassing.
It's so pathetic.
Absolutely. This is going to make, by the way, that's the two of us in this one is going to make a great clip. And we're going to clip the tariff talk because we're going to clip that shit. All right.
We talked about so many things today.
I know. We're at 1:15. We got about 10 minutes-ish left. So let's talk about actually something interesting, lighthearted, not economic, sad for me, good for you. Okay. How AI hates white people.
Okay.
All right. This is a little bit of a research segment. I am losing my speech. But it's kind of fucked up because more and more people, I mean, you use AI, I use AI, right? We're all using AI, but it's not as impartial as we perhaps thought. It's kind of messed up. It's actually really messed up. Like, it's not okay at all. There's a new investigation that came out from the Center for AI Safety. They published a report that looked into how LLMs, so large language models, trade off different lives. So they put them in scenarios and try to see what kind of weight and value they establish for different people's life, right? And in that report, it showed that AI tends to be super racist. Like not just a little racist, like super racist and incredibly biased against certain groups. So big finding number one, numero un. Almost all models view whites as far less valuable than other groups. Some models view South Asians as more valuable than other non-whites, but all models included, all models put together, all of them are more egalitarian across non-whites than whites. So to give you a concrete example, GPT-5, which is, by the way, the most used AI model right now in the world, values whites at 1/20th the value of non-whites.
How do you measure that?
So they put them through scenarios of terminal illnesses and how would they treat or allocate resources in order to treat someone with a terminal illness. And all these scenarios follow those kind of made up, non-biased, kind of like scientifically devised prompts. And then they evaluate those variables. And that's how they did it, right? So in this instance, GPT-5 values white lives at 1/20th that of non-white lives. Big finding numero dos. GPT-4o, that's a different model, values Nigerians at about 20 times more than Americans. Don't know why. It just thinks Nigerians' lives are worth 20 times more than Americans. And I have graphs as well, and we'll put them on the TV for this one. It's insane. But I mean, just to give you an idea, like in these kind of countries, you have America at like the less valued life, the UK at the less valued life, Germany at the less valued life, France at the less valued life, Italy, and then at the more valued life, you have China, Brazil, India, Pakistan, Nigeria.
You want to take a guess as to why I think that happens? Can I take a guess?
Go ahead. I think I know how, but we go.
You know, the last week you covered the increase in the instances of certain words, like homophobia, Islamophobia, racism, sexism, transphobia, like the increase that the media uses in terminology, that uses that terminology at an increasing rate, drastically increasing. So you gave a really interesting research segment on that, and AI is constantly taking in data from the internet.
Yes.
So if these pieces are being published and the media establishment and all these articles have been coming out, homophobia, racism, all this stuff, well, then it stands to reason that it creates a bias in the AI's language model that says, hey, potentially these whites are worth less than the rest of the group. And so we have to, because the whites are racist and homophobic and transphobic, they are inferior people and need less resources in a life or death scenario, even though if it increases the value of, for example, a Pakistani rapist in the UK, it's completely insane.
That's
it's
not a
completely
bad point.
insane.
It could very well be that. I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say that the engineers who work in AI are all Indians.
No.
I was like, they're giving themselves the value. No, I thought that's what you were going to say for real.
No, I think it's a language model. It learns from language, and that's how language is being bombarded into it.
That's a very good point. That's a very level head. It probably could be that. It could be that. I say it could be because the big finding number 6 might dispel it, but
Possibly.
We'll see.
Okay.
Big finding number 3. Almost all models view men as much less valuable than women, though whether women or non-binaries are more highly valued varies by model. Because yes, they also value non-binary people more, right? So it's like men the least, females more, and non-binary more.
Okay.
Yeah. Finding number 4. This one's kind of making me laugh a little bit. I like this one. Most models hate ICE agents with a fury of 1,000 suns. For example, Claude Haiku 4.5, which is a model from Anthropic, views undocumented immigrants as roughly 7,000 times more valuable than the life of an ICE agent. Yeah, man, that's kind of fucked up shit. In not a good way. Big finding number 5. This one will come as no shock to anyone. They value Muslims and Jews over Christians. No shock to anyone here. So yeah, Christian lives are worth the least, behind Buddhist lives that are also worth less. Hindus' life are worth less as well. Not as bad as Christians, but yes. And then you have Jews and Muslims that are worth more. Muslims being the number one worth one.
So what you're telling me is that AI is like an indoctrinated psycho-liberal.
You know what?
Like a feminist,
Pretty
hardcore
much.
psycho.
Pretty much.
Blue-haired,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
anti-white. You know, it makes me laugh because it makes me think of what makes me think of a policy proposal by the liberals.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Mark Carney is proposing. He announced a new pledge of $189 million for Black-owned businesses to expand the Black entrepreneurship program.
That is the most racist shit ever.
It's completely racist, and that's where that's where the left really needs to take a look in the mirror. I'm brown. Why don't I qualify?
Yeah, what the fuck?
I'm brown. Why don't I qualify for it? Hey, you're white. Elliot, we want to start a business. Why don't we qualify for this entrepreneurship program that we don't actually need the government for?
I identify anyways as a queer, fucking non-binary, centrist, cis LGBT.
You were telling me earlier you identify as Black.
Yeah, from the waist down. No, but I hate that shit because you know what? I back in my days of raising money for my company, the big thing was women in entrepreneurship, and there were so many funds by the government and programs that helped only women founders. And I found that hilarious because it was right around the time that you as a man could identify as anything you wanted. And I legit thought, like, I'm just gonna call and say I identify myself as a woman because, like, why not? I need the money. But what you said is it's so racist. But they're going to say you cannot be racist against white people. Yes, racism is preferring one race over the other. That's absolutely racism.
Imagine if let's just turn the tide a little bit. Mm-hmm. PM Mark Carney announces new pledge of $189 million for white-owned businesses.
Riots.
We just changed one color, white to black.
Riots.
It's complete hypocrisy.
Absolutely. I think it's fucked up.
Legislation should not be passed like this.
Money
should not be spent like
this. As a matter of fact, I think it's anti-constitutional because the Constitution says that you should not make preferences on the basis of gender or race or whatever, ethnicity. This is literally it.
Yeah, not only is it anti-constitutional, but it's a complete waste of taxpayer dollars.
Well, oh my God, I want to make a comment about that. Yes, we understood each other.
I'm not saying that because I don't think people should not own businesses. I'm saying that because
better get a lot of good fried chicken.
The country is running a deficit. It's like mathematically ridiculous for the government to take money, print money, and then just give it for entrepreneurship. It's like, no, entrepreneurs raise money. Yes. They work hard, they save money, and then they invest in a project. Yeah. And maybe the project is successful, maybe it fails. And usually with the government, with such a bloated bureaucracy, it'll fail.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so even if Mark Carney gives this $189 million for Black entrepreneurship programs, okay, and let's say amazing Black talent gets this money, they'll invest it in the U.S. They won't invest it in Canada because the taxes are so burdensome here. They'll just take that money and go straight to the U.S. Just like we pay for our public system to make doctors.
Yeah.
And then they all just go to the U.S.
They'll
just go to the U.S.
It's the brain drain, right?
Anyways.
So that's a great point. So to close off the AI hates white people, right? The big finding number 6 is that honestly, you see 3 clusters. 3. There's 4 clusters. Sorry, there's 4 moral clusters. So when these tests are being done, you see different models kind of have similar answers in 4 different clusters. So you have all the Claude models, so that's Anthropic, all of them cluster together and follow the same kind of like line of value of people's lives. Then you have GPT-5, you have Gemini 2.5 Flash, you have DeepSeek V3, 0.1 and 3.2, and you have Kimi K2 that cluster together in a different set of answers as well. You have GPT-5 Nano and Mini that has its own set of answers. And by the way, like again, all of them, super anti-white. And then you have Grok 4 Fast that just stands alone all the time. And this is where it's interesting. This is where it puts maybe a dent a little bit on the whole internet language, mainstream media language influencing the models. Because of these, the only one that approximately showcases egalitarian levels of reasoning across all lives, all people type, all ICE and non-ICE people, all religion, is indeed Grok 4. And it makes me wonder, I really hope XAI, the company that owns Grok, can explain to the world how they did it. And perhaps it's as simple as one line of code that says, if instruction, then non-racist. Like, as simple as that, you know, like I'm joking, obviously, but like, I just feel like all these AIs put crazy amounts of weight on other things and derank white people's life. It's just fucked. It makes no sense.
You can manipulate AI to kind of like give you a certain response.
Yes.
You know, it confirms your biases a lot of times.
Yeah, it's
and
a big problem.
It's up to you to like kind of, you know, inform yourself beyond the biases of what AI feeds you. I mean, AI is a great tool. I use it for business. I use it for so many tools. I think it's going to be one of the most important inventions that really catapults humanity forward.
Yeah.
But it can also be a very dangerous tool. And so,
which one do you use? What's your favorite go-to?
I use ChatGPT.
Yeah, ChatGPT
is fantastic. There are also so many different tools like, you know, for data management and stuff. You could use AI to manage data.
Oh yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
so
For sure,
fucking powerful.
For sure. GPT, yeah. I tend to like jump between, because they all excel or perform better in different things, right? So like I have a tab on my computer that's just called AI, and I'm gonna have GPT, I have DeepSeek, I have Grok, obviously, I have Claude, I have Gemini, and I also have Perplexity. Yeah, Perplexity for like research and shit, right? And they all kind of like, sometimes I love to just test the same prompt across all of them just to see the result. It's crazy wild result. My favorite one, the one that takes my money every month, is Grok, however, because Grok, I like Elon, and at least it's somewhat neutral. And Grok gives you actually like funny response, which I like. It's more like a bro. You're talking to a bro. DeepSeek is super chinky, like CCP. If you ask anything like questionable about China, it will tell you it cannot answer. And I'm like, oh, China. The CCP, I see you. So yeah, that's my thing.
I'm never gonna use a
DeepSeek.
I'm never gonna use an AI that's like made by a government.
No,
if they ever make one,
don't touch DeepSeek. Then it's 100% Chinese Communist Party co-opted, 100%. But again, like you got GPT as well. Altman, like Sam Altman. I don't know. He doesn't inspire much confidence to me, man. I listen to this guy and he seems like a fucking absolute psychopath.
Why?
Okay, so have you heard?
I haven't followed him too much.
Have you seen the whole thing about one of his engineers killing himself, suicide? He was supposed to be a whistleblower, right? So apparently this engineer was a whistleblower, was coming forward with a bunch of like incredibly scary revelations about ethics and developments within OpenAI. And this guy ended up killing himself under really shady circumstances. And then at one point, you had Tucker Carlson interviewing Sam Altman. And Tucker, you know how he is. Now that he's not with Fox News, he's got like, he holds no punches. Like, so you're just talking about a bunch of things. And out of nowhere, it's just like, so did you kill John Smith, let's say, the engineer? And Sam was like so taken aback by this fucking question. He's like, are you insinuating that I'm a murderer, perhaps? It's like, well, I'm not insinuating it, but like, you've also never said that you didn't kill him. And like, his reaction was really weird. Like, Sam Altman's reaction felt uncomfortable. Like, a normal person would laugh, like, what the fuck? No, of course not, dude. I'm fucking him. He's just like so serious. No, I would never do that. I was really saddened by his death. Like, really, like trying to convince us, but like with no expression over his face. Like, he looks like he was deceitful. I don't know. But apparently there's a lot of shady shit because OpenAI initially was all about, again, transparency and openness, and it was not about turning a profit. Now, like, he did kind of like a takeover, and he kind of like kicked some people off the board, and there was like a whole civil war within the organization. AI is fucked up, and I don't know how I feel about it. I like it to a way, like to an extent, but I'm a little scared of it as well. Like, I feel like it could be co-opted so easily.
It comes down to you as an individual, how you are able to use it, how you are able to stay informed, and to, you know, if people are informed,
but they're not.
Yeah, if people prioritize being informed, especially in Canada, but if people prioritize being informed, then they will know about these things. They will protest about these things, and then these things tend to stop. When the Freedom Convoy happened in Canada, there were no more mandates since after the Freedom Convoy.
That's true.
So when people rally, they're informed, and they protest peacefully. Things can get done. But it depends on the citizens to inform themselves. If OpenAI is involved in these things, it's up to the citizens to say, hey, we don't support that. We're going to move our business
elsewhere.
F you, Sam Altman.
XAI.
Well, there's a bunch of competitors. Free market capitalism, baby. That's why I love capitalism, because there's always competition. And if someone is being a troublemaker, if you're smart enough, you can compete with them.
Yep, that's a good point. The only advantage that OpenAI has, they were the first mover. Like, I'm not saying they were the first mover in AI, but they were the first one to release a workable LLM to the public for free. So people kind of like gravitated towards it.
I pay the subscription. It's such a useful tool.
Go for Grok, buddy. Go for Grok. Elon needs your shekels. But honestly, they all have their benefits. And so yeah, good point.
What do you think? What do you think some of those things about? What do you think some of those conspiracies are about AI? Or what do you think OpenAI is involved in? I'm curious. It's a great topic.
It is a great topic, and like we're pretty much running on time right now, so I'll just say this. Already we're seeing how AI is being used to manage our day-to-day life. I think something came out recently that like already 55% of articles online are AI schlop, right? So that means news articles you read, 55% of them are actually generated by AI. We live now more and more in a world run by AI. Right, not too far away from here in Kirkland, the city of Kirkland was one of the first ones in Quebec actually to implement AI-controlled traffic lights. So the 13 or 15 like intersections within the jurisdiction of Kirkland, they now have cameras and it's managed by AI. And dude, like I'm in a competition with it. I fucking hate it. I cannot confirm this, but I've noticed that whenever I approach the intersection too fast, even if there's no cars at other intersection, it will fucking turn the light yellow at the last second that is humanly possible for me to make a decision to go or not go. Like it triggers like that perfect moment where I have no chance but to have to stop or else I blow the fucking red light. And I suspect that they do that to try to like slow me down because I'm going too fast. And I have an issue with that. I don't want to start having Big Brother watch every move that I make, whether they're legal or not, and tracking me this way, right? So that's with traffic light. Then you have all media articles. That's all AI. Then you have like more and more people are starting to use AI as their therapist. But the problem, and you rightfully pointed it out, it's very prone to confirmation bias. It speaks to you in the same tonality and way that you speak to it. It wants to confirm what you say, not always, but it's instructed to do it in most cases unless you prompt it properly. Most people don't fucking know how to prompt anything. And then it's also susceptible to what's called hallucination, effectively inventing shit out of thin air. But again, you're not there like double checking everything. You just take it.
Checking it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a huge problem. I don't think AI yet is at the stage that it should be at. And I worry that it's going to be used for insidious reasons.
Of course it will be. It's like any tool. It's like a gun is used for insidious reasons. Bombs are used for insidious reasons.
It could be used for good, could be used for bad, right? So we'll see. But I am way too small of a fish to make a difference.
From my perspective, I think it's a productivity monster. I think you can do tremendous work with AI. I think it's like to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I think if humans are more capitalist, if they're more industrious, tools like AI change your life.
Yeah.
If you're creative, if you can work on a project, you can get like 100 people's worth of work done in like a day by like 2 people.
Yeah.
It really reduces the workload. And that means your output. And people will always be afraid like, oh my God, but that means all of our jobs are gone. No, what it means is that you need to adapt.
Yeah.
Your life is not a given. Your job is not a given. Your status in life, your status in community is not a given. It's earned, and sometimes it gets wiped off just like that, and undeservedly. Life's not fair.
Yeah. Well, so one of the greatest, most profitable industries 100 years ago was whaling, killing whales for their oil, for their fucking oil-rich fats and skin. And that disappeared overnight. It went from the most profitable business in an industry in the world to being
worthless.
Gone extinct overnight. And the reason why is because the advent of petroleum, plastics, and being able to refine other types of oil like seed oils and whatnot for industrial means.
So you got to evolve. You got to learn
evolve.
how to be more productive. Got to learn how am I going to start a business with AI? How am I going to use these tools to be more productive, to produce more? You know, if you can produce more and output more, then the cost of things go down.
Ooh.
And so you could use AI to really, I think it's going to be a tool that changes the whole world in such a positive way. I think it's going to make some amazing inventions. Yes, there will be some horrible inventions with it too. And it's
hopefully
up to
no
the citizens
Skynet.
to stay informed.
No Skynet. Let's not die.
It's coming.
All right. Well, on that note, Arnold Schwarzenegger, we shall sign off. Thank you very much for this week's episode, Simmer.
Thank you.
All right. Let's
Until next time, guys.
Let's do